Hey everyone, welcome to Super Heru Radio, Friday Night Dark Lights. I'm your host, Aseer the Duke of Tears, along with my co-host, Selena, the Empress of 10,000 Years. My other co-host, Saga Assad, Peace Saga, as well as Little More. We want to say peace and blessings to all of the Super Heru family. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for blessing us with your presence and allowing us all to congress, to always go in on not only the current events, but the things or the events that we see shaping the reality as we know it. You know, we always want to be conscious and conscientious of the fact that we manifest what it is we know we can, and we stay to be what we really are. You know? So we definitely want to say peace with all of that. And anybody who lost any loved ones this past week, specifically, we definitely want to say bless the dead, my condolences to you. But just know that they're definitely in a better place and better environment, in a place where ultimately we all going to get to see one day. So let's kind of get into it. I definitely want to give peace and shout-outs to some ancestors like Agaju, or Agaju, Ashe, Inlay Ashe, Yamaya Ashe, Obatala Ashe, Asar Ashe, Aset Ashe, Emaya Ashe, Nobujali Ashe. Let's get into some of our Haitian ancestors. Jean-Jacques Dessalnier, Ashe, Henry Christophe, Ashe, Jimi Hendrix, Ashe, the Black Madonna, Ashe, Kali, Ashe, Tutankhamun, Ashe, Shu, Tefnut, and Nut, Ashe, Pascal Belly Randolph, Ashe, Brother Paul Robeson, Ashe. What else we say? Oh, yeah. Harriet Tubman, a.k.a. Heru Het, or Het Heru, Harriet Ashe, as well as our living ancestors who've been putting in the work for a long time. Brother Dawood Ashe, Brother Big Man Ashe, Brother Steve Copley Ashe, Queen Valaria El Bay Ashe, C. Freeman L. Bless the Dead Ashe, Jose Pimenta Bay Ashe, Booker T. Coleman Ashe. It's so many, man. We want not to forget nobody. Wow, so many people done came and gone. Ivan Van Sertima, Ashe. John Henry Clark, Ashe. Marcus Garvey, Ashe. Sheikh Deuce Muhammad, Ashe. Elijah Muhammad, Ashe. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Ashe. Father Clarence 13X, Ashe. What's up? You know what I'm saying? Definitely John Jackson, Ashe. He's definitely, he's hardcore. Malcolm, indeed, Ashe. Anyone else? Anyone else before we get in? John Box Brown. Yeah, John Box Brown, word. We said C. Freeman, now blessed day. And, indeed. And anyone else that you can think of in your immediate environment right now, that we sent him, definitely Ashe to them. And anybody else. Also, Franz Bourdon, another black man who was persecuted based upon the Nazi intrusion into our reality, Ashe. All of those people who are martyred and killed, and those brothers and sisters that have been killed, you know what I mean, putting the work in, we definitely want to say peace and Ashe to them. As well as all of the nations that have existed and will exist or have ever existed on this hemisphere that we, unfortunately, will never remember. A lot of us will not remember. That have existed here and led the groundwork and the framework to be who we are. We want to say Ashe to you. Yeah, Dr. Aibo. Yeah, Ashe, that's the Grand Unified Theory right there. Definitely want to give a shout to them. Also, all of the Voodoo, Palo, Santa Ramia, Santa Sodoma Muerte, all of the dark ancestors that a lot of our present living ancestors are scared to even commune with in manners that don't involve some sort of ritual. We definitely want to say Ashe to you too. Word. Muammar Gaddafi. Ashe. Now, you know, a lot of black people are going to say certain aspects about it. And again, I'm not talking about him now in the context of the American puppet. We want to kind of talk to you in context about him in the framework of what overall he was doing in the continent of Africa. Now, the thing with this whole thing about, you know, people involved in esotericness and stuff like that is that there is a premise or a degree that when you get very high in, sometimes you'll have some people into it that when they get to a certain level of it, the thing that you acknowledge them for, they totally discredit, right? If you look at somebody like Eliphas Levi, now you have a lot of people in the occult history and occult world that basically say that Eliphas Levi was the originator of the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus Christ. The Aquarian Gospel of Jesus Christ is also known as the Circle 7 Moorish Quran. So you have certain people who are of the opinion that Noble Jew Ali somehow or another swiped the thing and basically plagiarized it to plagiarize what Eliphas Levi had wrote down to create the sorry. Some people want to say that he plagiarized it from him and so forth and so on, and you know, Noble Jew Ali came after Eliphas Levi, so you know he got it from him, whatever. But when you look at the history of Eliphas Levi, a lot of people say that being that he was a contemporary of Randolph, Brother Pascal Beverly Randolph, Dr. Pascal Beverly Randolph, how do you know you didn't get it from him? How do you know he didn't get it from him? I'm saying this to say that towards the end of Eliphas Levi's life, after all of the esoteric Golden Dawn crazy shit that he was involved in, he decided to disavow all of that and then become a Christian again. And then basically said that everything that he did back then, prior to him becoming a Christian, was not real. Now, certain people remember towards the end of Dr. York's tenure as head of the Wapians, he started talking to them about becoming a Christian, going back to Christianity as well. You know what I mean? This is a thing. There were certain scholars back in the days who would do that too. You'd have somebody like Saul of Tarsus, who in history was known as St. Peter. He was a great, not only plagiarist, but he was a great orchestrator, you know, but eventually he wound up succumbing to it and then switched his position. So there is a Freemasonic ritual that exists in which people who claim one ideology go through sort of like a circumambulation around the different orders and religions or whatever, and basically try to become a part of each one of them. And then towards the end, they wind up renouncing them, and then they join basically the same thing that they join the order that they were most against in the beginning. This is all part of ritual. So in speaking and keeping in tune with that understanding and looking at what Colonel Gaddafi was a part of, right? 1 second, Mike. What? There's some inside of his thing in the bathroom. One thing about this guy, one thing they really didn't like was that one thing is, aside from the whole Nation of Islam thing that he did when he gave Nation of Islam upwards of $15 million, one of the other things that he was doing was that he was working with specific countries in the interior of Africa, specifically Liberia, Mali, Niger, Chad, Sudan, the Central African Republic, Ethiopia, and Somalia. Now, in Mali, he put up money and diplomacy that basically helped him resolve the conflict between the northern Mali rebels and the government, right? Those conflicts basically are probably going to now flare up again now that he's gone. He was the one who basically came in and told the northern government, or told the people in the south, that the southern government was that the whole thing was basically a ruse starting from the United States. Because what the United States is trying to do is basically go into Mali as well as Somalia, but specifically Mali. They want to get in there and dig with them deep oil deposits in the south. So what they decided to do was, again, destitute the country. Now, the thing about Gaddafi was that he came out and was like, nah, this whole thing that's going on in Africa, the European foreign policy in Africa is all about keeping the Chinese out. He was one of the first people to actually come out and start kicking that shit. And basically put his money where his mouth is and started funding the so-called governments that was dealing within that region specifically. Right? Word. So what began to happen was that they created a situation in which he started to set himself up as a benefactor of African nations that they could go to get money outside of basically kowtowing to the United States, Britain, Russia, or the UN. Another thing he was doing in Liberia, okay, that's what he did in Mali. In Liberia, Libya provided $65 million in investment projects in terms of infrastructure, basically buying, cutting out the UN humanitarian aid and actually buying food and stuff like that directly, donating that directly to the Liberian people in the name of Libya, right? Another thing he was doing was helping to strengthen the rule of President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, as just due to the fact that at the time he also sent troops over there to hold her down, because as one of the only female presidents in the whole African continent, he already knew, based upon his connections with the intelligence agency, what was going down in that, and the fact that they were basically trying to use her to set her up. The way that you know this was when she got elected, the person who brought her, the only United States dignitary that went and meet her. Now remember, this is the first woman president in Africa, period, right? In the modern sense. What did she do? Who did they send to go acknowledge her? They sent Condoleezza Rice. They sent a black woman to go deal with the black woman. When protocol, foreign policy-wise, you're supposed to at least send the Secretary of State, or you're supposed to send the Vice President or President himself. So based on that, he basically put out on Al Jazeera that the whole thing was basically a setup and that they potentially was going to try to get rid of her. Also, he had a deep, allegedly a sexual attraction to Condoleezza Rice, based upon them using her as a sex goddess in their little foreign policy rituals. In Niger, he he helped to prop up the government again, and when the United States was putting embargoes against them, he was basically starving out the people. He came back, Gaddafi again, came, and the authorities became, he basically rallied some money behind the Central African governments and started putting the money up in them to prop up the governments that the United States and Britain are systematically trying to destabilize to keep China out of the continent. In Chad, he was a key supporter of the government and sent them bread. He also helped foil a assassination plot of the African president over there. In Central African Republic, that you don't really hear about, you're going to start to hear about more now. Libya was again sending bread to prop up the government, because in the capital in 2001 he sent troops over there to stop them from in 2001 he defeated a rebel coup attempt that was going to destabilize the Central African Republic, where a lot of the African powers are doing a lot of their banking now, because there's a move over there to kind of turn the Central African Republic into the African version of Zurich, where everybody can flip their money at and everything. Also, I heard that they've been working to reconstitute dinosaurs and all of that on that part of the planet. That they actually have dome cities, or cities under domes. And get one talking. Cities and domes and all of that they can basically, be on some almost futuristic shit. So he allegedly was funding a lot of these projects. In the Sudan, he sent 20,000 troop peacekeeping missions into Darfur, before George Clooney or any of these niggas was over there. Your man was over there sending his troops to hold down the refugees, right? And at the time, he was jointly supported by the African Union and the United Nations. But now that he's gone, all of this is going to go down the toilet. You understand? This could definitely weaken the peace things in Darfur. And now that they've been able to split the country, you know what I mean, into North and South, which is what they're trying to do to most of these countries, which is exactly what they did to the armistice in 1955 with North and South Korea. This is really all about destabilizing Africa. This is also showing you that anybody that has anything positive, now I'm not saying that he was an altogether positive person. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that he played the position. But I tell you this, he did more for black people than this nigga in the White House would ever do. I tell you that. And I also tell you that Libya did not bomb Pan Am 103. That all was CIA, man. All that shit was CIA. All of that shit was set up. A couple of years ago, he made a speech where he was talking about that all of his so-called dark Arabs need to start going back, because he is acknowledging that Libya is an African nation, not an Arab nation. This is what he said, okay? And this is what he was killing people to implement. So when the whole deal came up, when he started getting them refugees, and then them Europeans started paying him money to lock them up in the refugee camps and all of that, he did that initially. But what he was also doing was granting a lot of them Libyan citizenship, which is why you got a lot of these so-called Arab Libyans heated at the black people now. He was actually giving them land. He was actually locking up the rebels who was against the so-called African diaspora coming into Libya, and he was giving them, the African people, the refugees that was coming in to work and do the knowledge or whatever for him, based upon the bankroll that he was giving to these other nations, he was giving them land to live on, paid for out of his pocket, the government. Now in Somalia, the African Union peacekeeping mission, whose 8,000 soldiers were crucial to the battle against the Islamic radicals in Mogadishu, is now totally hampered now because this nigga's gone. So when he got all of these black people jumping up and down, talking about, oh, the dictator's dead, the dictator's dead. If that's the case, then how is it that all of these different African nations was benefiting from what this person was doing? Now, again, I'm not saying he's the the bee's knees and none of that, but I am saying that, like all things and like all people, he was not just one thing. He is not just what the media, especially what the United States media is telling you. Come on now. They just was able to prop up this nigga Osama to you. Now to make this dude look like he doing something, you want to kill the same nigga who was giving this dude death. He was giving this dude Barack mad props in the beginning of not only his thing, even before they was acting like Libya was their friend. So here go this stab in the back nigga sitting in the White House sucking these white people's penises or whatever, and now here he go basically saying that, oh, he's got to go. So if he got to go, what about the dictator in Syria? What's the difference between him and him? Nothing. The only difference is who can we get to quicker. That's what it's about. And again, our people, through the knowledge. If he was so bad and doing all of this other stuff to us as black people, whatever, why would he be bankrolling all of these African nations? Number one, why would he paying out of his own pocket all this money for reparations for the refugees and repatriation of them going back to their kingdom? Not only just as refugees, but going back with bread, with skills, training these people. You understand? Out of everybody in Africa, how is he the only one with an all-female royal guard? What's up with that? What's up with that? Let's talk about the fact that right now in Libya, the rebels, the same niggas that killed him are the same ones killing wholesale black people. The same African black people that was out there that you seen. Only difference now is they using red, black, and green flags now to kill black people. They showed on BBC how they ran down this one black man and basically held him down, beat him up, held him down, beat him up again, tied him to the ground, right, and rolled over this nigga with a tape. One black man, right? But ain't nobody talking about that. BBC ain't bigging that up. That's just like the black man in America that they found dead. And allegedly said it's a suicide, but he happened to be found with his hands bound, his feet bound, hanging, but it was a suicide. So basically it's saying he tied his hands up, tied his feet up, tied the rope around his neck, and then jumped off the thing so he can hang himself. Another thing that they're doing now, as it was having everybody focus on the Libya thing, they just basically decided to tank all of the residual interest rates attached to the dollar, basically making derivatives the basis of American fiscal policy. Basically, the same legislation, the same derivative scheme that they created to destroy the economy, to get everybody out of work, to destroy the infrastructure of the country. This is now going to be the basis of economics according to their reform economic plan that they happen to pass the same day they killed this nigga. Got black people jumping. I saw it on TV, black people jumping up and down in the street celebrating the death of this nigga. Don't you find something weird? Don't we see something weird about always celebrating the people that they kill, that they tell us is our enemies, but they killing us every day, and and the only people celebrating that is the people down with it? You got to ask yourself, in situations like this, who benefits? And it ain't us. They're doing this to black people over there wholesale. But this is all part of their so-called agenda or plan to get shit popping in a certain direction. But they are not going to be able to do that if they are not in a strategic position to do that. So because this dude was working his duplicitous Freemason shit and going back and forth, you got to remember, and you could do the knobs to this. A lot of nations don't know this, but most foreign policy people who lead and actually become presidents, dictators, whatever, most of these people go to a college called Occidental University. Another aspect of this that people may not understand is that part of the whole thing is that most of the foreign policy that goes down gets worked out in Italy at a Grand Lodge called the Monte Carlo Lodge. The Monte Carlo is the intersection of mad different magical Freemasonic / satanic orders who happen to have operatives who deal in the occult and stuff like that, but are also working for government. So a lot of the foreign policy deals and stuff like that are made in this place. Henry Kissinger has been the Grand Master of the Lodge, as well as many other notable people that I don't really give a fuck to name right now because they don't really matter so much to us in the grand scheme. But just to say that this is another place that goes down, where shit really goes down that none of our people was even hearing about. Another aspect of this is, in fact, that with all of these despots and rulers and killers and stuff in Saudi Arabia, how come ain't nobody invading them? What the Saudis are starting to realize is that the United States is practicing a form of Arabic isolationism, and they're about to lock them in and expose the fact that the royal family, the House of Saud, is actually Hebrews, or Moors back in the day, who now have declared themselves Arabs. You got to remember, the term Arab was a word of art. It was something created during the occupation of Egypt during the time of T.S. Lawrence, also known as Lawrence of Arabia, in their battle against the what they used to refer to as the old man of the West, who is the Turks, the Turkish Empire, which was the last, let's say, official Moorish empire to rock in that side of the world, but eventually got ate up. Or what they did, basically, with the bankers, paid to have the Moorish Turk of the Osmanli line killed, and then they paid for the Ataturk, who was Greek and born on the island of Cyprus, a Cypriot, to basically put him on the Turkish throne and then get him to dissolve the monarchy and dissolve the country and turn it into a republic and make it illegal for people to wear feathers and all that shit. You know, he was the guy. I met that guy's great-great-great-grandson who fought in the war who actually was the guy who shot Winston Churchill in the leg and gave him the limp in Gallipoli. For some reason, I tend to meet people who descend from people who have been in political forays like that for some reason. So, like I said, astrologically, thank you, son. Thank you very much. Good night, buddy. You know, so specifically speaking, it comes down here. Take this personal instead. It's a good one. You know, so it's now come to a point in which they have passed what you would call the point of no return. For those people who are movie buffs and basically do decoding work in movies, you would see that in the movie Limitless, there was a scene in which he was building on stuff, and she had an epiphany about how to get the extra money and take it to the next level. But then he stopped and looked at Robert De Niro's character and said, yeah, but to do this, what are you going to do about Libya? That was one of the first stances. Now, the thing about this, too, guys, is the fact that he did this to Libya. You got to remember that Libya is an African country, man. So is Egypt. Okay? So this is what they're doing to so-called African people. Even though on TV they keep showing you pictures of Arabs, when you look at Al Jazeera and BBC, you see the people who was really suffering and really getting shot up in these conflicts. And they all, if I was to put them in Flatbush right now, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. So again, this is a war against you. This is them. This is them killing you, or attempting to kill an aspect of you. Not saying that you're an African or you're connected to that, but this is to say that once they do it to one, they keep doing it. You know. Also, another thing that was going down is there's been a serial rash of baby abductions going on in the country. There's about 20 different babies, but you're only hearing about 2 of them right now in mainstream media. There's about 20 different babies that have been kidnapped from different states all over the country. Also, the serial killer that's been killing black women up and down the eastern seaboard just struck another victim. Allegedly they found a woman in Delaware black woman cut up in her trunk. Okay? So again, all of this is not a coincidence. All of this death and getting people to celebrate death again again in the second to last month of Jason. Remember, this is the highest ritual months between July, August, September, October, November. So between this time period, they have to get as much in, put as much work in from the end of what they call Valpurgis all the way up to now the last month. This is going to be in November. So we're about to go from Beltane, and now we're about to go into Imbol in November. So they got to go out with a bang because November also corresponds with Scorpio. Late October also corresponds with Scorpio. Scorpio also corresponds with the 8th house. So those people, look out. Also, there's an undercurrent now of freedom. There's a huge push for spiritual and physical freedom coming up through the planet that has been alerting and bringing people's awareness to more of a critical stage. So, you know, a lot of people, you find yourself daydreaming at your job more. You find yourself, not really being particularly interested in things that were really on the forefront of your mind like 1, 2, 3 years ago. You find yourself around people who maybe 2 or 3 years ago was really, with these needs. Now you can't stand to be around these people. Like all of this energy is picking up. So you got to be aware of it, and you got to work and intone yourself to allow yourself to let go of useless, what I call top secret, useless secrets, things and people that really have nothing to do with where you are right now in your life, because you really do not serve anybody else's ability or purpose if you are not happy around them. If you're not happy around them, that's your soul telling you that maybe these aren't the people that you should be associating so much with. Yet, we as original people are very social people. We're very malleable when it comes to social environments. However, sometimes you got to be able to, what makes a man to me, or a woman to me, is someone who knows when to say enough is enough. Someone who can say no and really mean it and stick by that. Someone who can choose to discern who and what they're going to give their attention to, as opposed to just being a ego whore or a accolade or a applaud scene to be, up around mad people just for the sake of them speaking your name or whatever. So don't feel bad if you're going through those things right now, because those are signs that you are unraveling the true essence of you, because the more you get your shit together, the more you don't worry about what somebody else's shit look like or smell like. So it's very important to pay attention to those things internally. To look at what's happening cosmically with Elenin, we're moving closer to the time now when it is moving into the primary position to set us up for October 28th. There was a rumbling of things going on in the Canary Islands. Cool, buddy. In the Canary Islands and stuff, but specifically speaking, they were hoping that didn't develop into a tsunami, So specifically speaking, Eastman. Yeah. They've created a situation now where they have to, again, bend to the idea that this is going to be something that they can hopefully manipulate to their end or their benefit, This coupled with the this was something interesting. They also found another NASA guy allegedly dead. Now, this guy allegedly is the guy that was posting things on YouTube under the name Dying NASA Scientist. Allegedly, this is the guy that they found, or who allegedly is deceased now. But in the news, they referred to him as an ex-NASA scientist who put out questionable material. But then it was like I never saw it again on the news. So, sometimes I think they just throw things out there as bait to see who or what is paying attention and then move on. So that's another thing that was going down that I found very interesting. Again, all around the time that the world is buzzing about this person who they have been told is a who they've told is a killer or mass murderer or dictator or whatever. I would never know because I don't live in Libya and never have. Therefore, the people who got him in there, you got to remember how he got in there. He got in there with the help of the United States, deposing the monarchy, the blood monarchy that existed there all the way back to the mid-1800s. Right? So remember, you're talking about an ancient place. Libya in archaeological study as well as biblical study was called Punt, P-U-N-T. Libya also had a relationship with another nation, the first nation ever to coin money out of gold and silver in the world, which was a place called Lydia or Lydia, L-O-I-D-I-A. These two nation states were basically were very similar in how they did stuff, just like the ancient Ethiopians were very similar to the ancient peoples they referred to as the Nabateans, N-A-B-A-T-E-A-N-S, which were synonymous with the Sabaeans, S-A-B-A-E-A-N-S, Sabaeans, or Saba. Saba also meaning Sheba. Seba, Sheba, Saba are all the same thing, all the same word. So as you can see, our job, or in our time in reality, we're the ones who basically are starting to see that all of the different names that they've used to divide and conquer and set us apart from each other are all really coming back together, because we are at the stage where we are the physical representation of the Temple of Solomon, where we are the physical representation of Heru, who is also Aseer. So as Aseer had to reunite the 14 pieces of himself to be able to reincarnate through Heru, we must now do the same thing by taking the good and the bad and the indifferent and making an active choice as to which, or if not all of that, we're going to take to be able to take or leave behind to be who and what we're supposed to or want to really be, if we want to be that. So the more we have to work on unifying the inner self, the inner mind's eye, the more we are being put in situations to worry and focus on what the next man says we should be doing in that accord, when no man can really tell you that. We are all here to be guides for one another. You know, the master-teacher or the teacher-master relationship is a symbiotic relationship. A true teacher is somebody that's going to work to get you to the point where you can make these decisions and start to teach and do this yourself. A master is somebody that's going to try to use you to keep yourself perpetually as their steward. This is the difference between an adept, someone who is in the initiation of life, and someone who chooses to go through a physical initiation to represent life. They have two different outcomes. One is operative, one is speculative. We have been in the same war with the same people for the same time period, because you cannot move on unless we deal with what has happened to us internally. That's why it's so hard for us to come together. Another aspect of that is the fact that we have all been under this so-called ritual of abuse growing up in these esoteric cultures. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of us feel hard for us to come together also because we feel divided within ourselves based on ritual abuse, based on molestation and these things that we keep blaming on each other instead of looking at the bigger picture. Yeah, the person who did this to you was fucked up and should be punished, but where did that person get the impetus to do that to you from? And then where did that person who did that to him from? And if we trace this all the way back, you will find it leading to a lot of the same people. You want to take some calls? Peace, you want Super Heru Radio? 973? Peace. 973? 614? You want Super Heru Radio?
Peace, God.
3.0? Peace. How you, Lord? How you?
Man, this insight, brother. How you feeling, man?
Yeah, I know. How you been, man? It's good to hear from you.
Man, I've been good, brother. Good to hear from you and the Queen and the fam doing what y'all do, man. Man,
thank you, brother.
I got a couple questions. I'm about to be a guest. I'm about to be a guest on this show tonight, so I got about 10 minutes. I don't want to take up too much of your time, man. First, I don't want to get off topic, but I want you to kind of help me with this dream. If I can get your interpretation of it real quick. I had a dream Wednesday night, kind of bugged me out. I'm in the process. We're opening up our own home school here in Columbus, Ohio, for our babies and give them a center curriculum and get them this right knowledge, fam. That way we don't have to deprogram our babies like we had to be deprogrammed ourselves when we got much older and came into right knowledge.
Praises so we giving them that, brother. Praises to you and the people working with you for that.
Thank you, brother. So I'm starting this school, man, and it's been going real good. We opening this coming spring. To make a long story short, the elders, the young people, been helping us out, been giving us money, and we've been doing good, man. We on the right path. The doors will open this spring. But I had a dream the other night, man. I'm from Chicago, and I was sitting in my aunt's house in Chicago. That I used to go over her house all the time as a kid, and we sitting in her living room, like family room area, what they call it now. And it was me, my brother, Kanye West, Jay-Z, and some other cats. I really couldn't really decipher who they was. I really wasn't paying attention. But me and Kanye was having a conversation, and he was like, man, this school is about to pop. I'm feeling what you're doing. He's like, I got an idea to help you raise mass money for the school. He's like, why don't me and you make an album together, and all the proceeds from the album, I don't want a penny. I want you to take all the proceeds from the album and do your thing with this school. And then Jay-Z was like, yeah, man, I'm with Kanye, man. Why don't y'all go and do an album? Now, I'm a musician. I sing a little bit. I play drums, but I'm not a rapper. So, and I'm not even really checking for these guys with that. And I woke up out of my sleep like the shit would like totally vex me out. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I gotta call in Friday night and holler at Duke about this one, man, and see if he can give me anything that he might see with the joint.
Was it daytime in the dream or nighttime?
When I was sleeping, or when the dream was?
When you were in the dream talking to them.
In the dream, I was in my in the dream I was in my aunt's family room, and it was kind of dim in there. Now that you asked me, it was real dim because I really couldn't see their faces clear, but I could see their faces enough to know exactly who they was.
Did you see your grandmother there?
No, I didn't see any other family members except for my baby brother. And those cats. There was other cats in the room, but I really couldn't decipher who the other people was. So you was in your grandmother's house, but your grandmother wasn't there. Aunt. Yeah, it was my aunt's house in the Shire. I didn't see her at all. But she wasn't there. She wasn't there. I mean, the scenery was so familiar because it took me back to my childhood. I was at this woman's house damn near every weekend of my life. You know what I'm saying? My childhood life. Right. Were you there as yourself now? Did you see like? Right. I was an adult. Right. It was just right. Right. We was all presently how we are right now. Exactly. When they were talking to you, did they wait to? Was it like you were talking back and forth, or was it like you said something, then he said something, then you said something, then he said something? Right. The conversation was basically me and Ye going back and forth talking about the school, and I was telling him about. Was it like, you know how like I'm talking now, where I'm like, I'm not trying to talk over you, but like we're kind of like going back and forth. It was just like how me and you talking right now. It was back and forth. I'm telling him about the school. He trying to interject and tell me some shit, and then he was like, "Hold on, man. let's make this album, and I'm going to give you the money from the album. He kind of just took over the conversation, and then once he said that shit, Jay-Z was like, yeah, man, that's a good-ass idea. Like, I'm with that. Y'all should do that. You know what I'm saying? And then after that, me and him exchanged a few more words, and then I just woke up.
Did Jay-Z or whoever else, when you were talking to Kanye, what were they doing? Were they just sitting there, like, still not doing anything?
Yeah, Jay-Z and my brother was just sitting there listening to me and Kanye go back and forth. And then once Kanye said he wanted to help me open the school.
Were they looking at you? Were they looking at you?
Yeah, they was all looking. They was looking at us. They was looking at my brother and Jay was looking at us. And then once he said what he said about the school, then that's when Jay-Z said his piece. And my brother was sitting right next to me and never said shit the whole dream. That kind of vexed me out as well.
Okay. Did you see any colors in the dream?
Oh, man, colors like crazy. It was like HD, fam. That's why the shit bugged me out. Like, it was so fucking vivid, man. It's just real, real life.
What colors do you remember seeing?
I remember seeing a black, and I remember seeing, like, a bluish type color. Because, like I said, the room was kind of dim, and I guess that's the darkness that I saw, the black that I saw. But I also saw some hints of, like, blue in the dream as well.
Like light blue or like royal blue?
Like a royal blue.
Okay. So that's you in the pineal gland, because royal blue is the color of the pineal gland.
Right.
Or a color associated with the pineal gland. So that's you in there giving a verification, right, of what, giving yourself almost a regular validation for what it is you're doing, more so than it being Jay-Z or Kanye West.
Right.
We project outwardly what we understand symbolically. So regardless of what you may feel or I may feel about Kanye West or Jay-Z, they are archetypes of black success in this reality. You understand? That's why you have so many people doing all of these different things on them, putting them to the status almost of God. You understand?
Right.
And why people will pass out and all of that. So subconsciously, superconsciously, in the dream state, you're using both of them, which again represent the throne, right? Which then represents the seat of power, which then represents the institution, which then represents the school. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Your little brother could probably represent, was he in the state that he's in now in real life, or was he younger?
Yeah, he was in the state. Everybody was in the state they're in right now. And my brother's 2 years younger than me, so I don't know if that'll help you with anything, but yeah, he was in his present state.
That represents a younger version of you. You are usually all of the people in your dream.
In your dream. Wow.
You realize them or not.
Wow.
Because they all represent different aspects of you, relaying information to you, back to you, but you can't necessarily always relate it back to you in your own body.
Right.
Because then if you see two versions of you, that might freak you out. And your mind and soul understands that is the limitation of physical perception here. So in cases like that, you or we take out of our species mind pattern images that symbolically represent. The reason why I can say that it wasn't a visitation, sometimes your dreams can take you into a visitation state where you are in the realm of the dead, which is when you see dead people in your dreams and you talk to them and stuff like that. But because you were in her house, right, because you were in her house, i.e. in her home, right, you didn't see her. So her presence was there, but you didn't see her. Therefore, there was no interaction in that way, thereby making it more of a symbolic representation of what you are to experience. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And real quick, fam, like I said, we always in present day, and her house was set up the same way it was set up as we were shorties. That's the only
difference.
You
remember.
Like, yeah, I remember. That's how I knew who house it was, because I remember seeing that couch, that picture on the wall. You know what I'm saying? That stool, that bar stool. Like, it was her crib. Like, everything was set up the way it was 25 years ago. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, because that's how you remember it.
Yeah.
Right, because that's how you remember it. That's also why the royal blue is there, because the pineal gland is pristine. The pineal organ is pristine in that way, so it's going to preserve every memory, and the vividness of what you experienced it. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So, like I said, more than it being Kanye and Jay, it's more about you doing things that will enhance the blackness of the pineal organ in the species mind pattern in the form of the house, which represents the home that you're schooling everybody in to prepare the future billionaires to sit on the throne.
Wow. That's that deal, fam. That's that work, brother. I appreciate you.
No doubt, brother.
Hey, and we can't wait to hear you Sunday, man. Go in on Sunday. I'm gonna call you this weekend. I'm actually headed to New York tonight, man. I'm gonna be in New York until Monday. So the listeners of our show are excited to have you back.
Let them know, man. Let the people know right now when it's gonna be, so they can hear it from you as well.
Our show is 6 to 8 on Sunday nights. Every Sunday night, the Insightful Hour with Brother Insight. Aseer Duke of Tears is our special guest this week. He coming on at 6:30 and gonna rock us for about 45 minutes to an hour, or however long it takes to get this information out. And we going in on the prison systems and the penal systems and how they basically have these brothers and sisters out here, you know, like it's the slavery of the 21st century. So come join us, man, and join what we doing, man, for real.
Indeed, and definitely, brother. Thank you for doing the work, you and the people helping you create that institution for children that can be in an environment free of satanic ritual abuse, Head Start, and all other crazy shit that's going on.
Absolutely.
Twan Turk for that. And people who are in Ohio want to get in contact with you. How would they do that?
Yeah, my number is 614-202-4512, 614-202-4512. If you Facebook me, it's Diallo, Dealow, last name Morgan, and it's in quotations, Brother Insight. Man, you won't believe the response we get from people helping us with the school. It's called the Al-Kibulan Home Institute. Brother from Chicago, Marcus Klein, came down and did a lecture for us 2 weeks ago, and basically he's given us a curriculum that he's written from his school in Chicago called Freedom Home Academy, and we're partnering together. So this is about to be real powerful, y'all. So anybody in Ohio, close to Ohio, holler at me, man. You got my information.
Indeed. Thank you, my brother, and I'll speak to you definitely on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay in contact. I'll talk to you Sunday, brother, if not before then, and give my regards to the Empress and Baby Your More, man.
Indeed, I will, brother. Thank you. And
all right, family. All right. Peace and blessings. Amato Hotel.
Peace. Okay. 770, you on Super Heru Radio, 3.0.
Hello.
Peace. How you doing, Queen?
Oh, good. I have a question about what do you think about the dude that let go all of the wild animals up in Ohio? And
great
also, question. I had a dream, maybe it was like a waking dream around about March, and I was laying on my couch. I got up and went to my porch, and I have trees like on the back of my patio, but it was like I was looking beyond the trees, and it was like two suns collided.
Yes.
And the sky went dark, and it sent out like some kind of field, but I woke up after that.
What color was the field?
I didn't see the field, but the two suns were white.
What did the sky look like?
I don't recall. I was just focusing on the two suns because I saw, that's what made me get up. I saw them coming together, and when they came together, the sky went dark, and then it got light again.
Well, if you had to guess, without thinking, what color would come to mind?
Blue.
Mhm. So that's another pineal understanding of what I was talking about with Brother Insight right before you, in which you are witnessing elements of your pineal organ giving you imagery to help you understand what you symbolically, on a genetic level, what you are inputting into your life by paying attention to stuff like this. The two white suns colliding is suns represent light, but they also represent holographic light, illusion. You know.
Okay.
So two white suns, when a sun is white hot or reach that level, it's on the verge of supernova. So that can symbolically represent you thrusting both of these two things to form some sort of unified opinion of what you may be experiencing or comprehending about your experiences, or it could be a physical precognitive vision of a symbolic reference of two white suns physically colliding in the form of, let's say, the blue and the red kachina, which is the Elenin and the Buru thing, or the representation of two superpowers, white influence superpowers colliding, you know what I mean, causing some sort of war. But blue, again, is the pineal gland. So you seeing above the trees is you seeing above the denseness of the reality into what is really taking place. Because everything that happens physically is just a representation of something that's already been agreed upon non-physically. You know?
Yeah.
The shooting of the animals thing, though, is an attack on the primordial nature of we as inhabitants of the earth, us and the different kingdoms, the human kingdom, the mineral kingdom, the crystal kingdom, the animal kingdom, blah, blah, blah. So the guy who let him go had just got out of jail from flipping paperwork to get money, in which he was buying these animals that they was running tests on and doing experiments of gene splicing and shit like that. So he was buying up all of these animals and preserving them, and was then at the same time screwing them with the paper scheme to fund it. So he wound up getting locked up. So while he was away, you know, the animals was under their jurisdiction. So a lot of the animals they had was already going to kill anyway. So he was just like, fuck it. Well, I'm going to just lay it all out. That's why the FBI was there. Like, if it's the animals, what you had FBI people on the news for at the crib? Because they were seizing the documents, the computers, you know what I'm saying? The evidence of the complicitness of, you know what I mean, the CDC and PETA and these other organizations. So these animals had to be killed one way or the other. So he was just like, fuck it. He let them go, popped himself, which absolved him of the responsibility, and essentially freed him up now to get a higher birth. You see what I'm saying? Because he did something to honor the earth, in a sense. So in the process of them doing that, you know what I mean, they went out there and was doing a thing. But this is also reminiscent of something brother Brother Everest, who is a founder of the Academy of Cosmophysics, was building with me on the other day about the fact that Virgo, the earth sign, is being kind of overseen or ruled now by Chiron, who is the wounded healer, which is the asteroid that represents an aspect of man and beast coming to an understanding. So that would then mean that the wounded healer, again, represents the beast part of Chiron that was wounded in the battle, but he essentially was the teacher of Hercules and everybody else. So essentially this represents man in the Edenic times learning about the animals, from the plants, from the crystals, from the minerals, when man was us. But now they're working to gene splice man into this whole other thing that is multisexual. So now, men are having sex with animals and shit like that because they want to crossbreed the gene and downgrade man into an animal state, but then keep their state sublime.
Kind of like the owl, Dr. Monroe.
Exactly. Or Yaku, Patmos Island. You see what I'm saying? Creating of the Negro Araba Javaro super chimpanzee that we would refer to as the Neanderthal or Cro-Magnon that we today now refer to as quote-unquote white people.
Okay. I just wanted your insight on that because it bothered me a little bit. And I think the last two animals that were left was a wolf and a monkey that had, hepatitis.
Yes. A wolf and a monkey.
Like, wow.
The monkey had the virus. Yes, the monkey had the virus, and the wolf had hepatitis because this is the rescued animals that they was rescuing from whatever base that they was injecting with the diseases with. You see what I'm saying? Another thing that's funny is the fact that he lived not too far where they want to set up the new CDC in the Midwest at. You know what I mean? They want to move the shit, so they have a secondary facility. One, they want to open in Kansas, but a secondary facility that wasn't too far from where he lived. So, the fix is in.
Wow. Okay, thank you.
Hey, everybody. You back. Talk the phone now. Okay. 864. You want to behave with radio?
Hey, you got through.
Steve, how you doing, Queen?
Hey, I'm good. How about you, Aseer?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm great, Jay. Just trying to relax. Can you turn the speakers down? Well, me and my king had some separate questions for you, or just some things we wanted to throw out there. No, just me? Okay. Never mind. He reneged.
That's what's up.
Yeah, so I've been working in the education realm for about, 3 months now? and I'm just picking up on a lot of things that are just mad shady, of course. But I just want to get your insight on what you think this whole this drug generation, because, you know, they're labeling a lot of our kids ADD and ADHD, and, you know, and they basically throwing out these drugs like Skittles. Like, they're just trying to get everybody on this shit. So what is your prediction for, like, you know, this generation of kids who are getting these labels thrown at them and, you know, have, you know, a lot of uninformed and miseducated parents? What's the next generation going to look like for these kids?
Well, if we look at the, let's say, Prohibition generation, right, which were the pre-baby boomers, these were the newly established, somewhat chaotic, quote-unquote, white establishments that came out of these white male labor movements that all came out of post-Civil War Ku Klux Klan Freemasonic groups. So the overall agenda was the fact that they didn't have any skills. They had to become the people who had the money and then basically doled out who was going to work for what. So in that, women and children were the property of, or seen as the property of the state. So the education had to be separated to keep black kids and Hispanic kids or whatever dummied down. The problem, though, was that in the poorer communities that had less funding, they had higher education and test results. Because of the deficiency, they had to work harder with less and eventually bust the pineal organ open and got more. So this became a problem because now the white kids who had all the affluence, when they would try to put them in positions of power, they would have to manipulate them more hands-on than they needed to. So they had to find a way to get us to get dummied down, and so came integration through Roe v. versus Wade. This is why it started with the whole, Brown versus Board of Education, which is why it all started with education as the basis. So it was set up until that time that you could have separate schools so long as they were equal, which then meant that to instill that, you got new textbooks, but the textbooks now were based on what the white kids was reading, and the white kids was reading about how they were God and this, and that, and that we were slaves and this, and that, which then fostered then the Jim Crow era, in which education was used to infuse in the mind of the black children that they could only be janitors or singers or dancers or whatever, which is the modicum to this day. So prohibition, meaning the depriving of alcohol for white males, you see, as well as the fact that at the same time the white women were waging a sexual campaign in which they were withholding sex from their men. This formed a problem that then was worked out with the school, because now if we get them all in school and the black kids and the white kids in the same school, we can then miseducate them equally, but then at the same time isolate which ones we want to associate with sexually and whatever. So essentially, schools then became military, were then allowed to become military installations. A little black girl had to go to school, and then Norman Rockwell painting had to go to school with the armed guards. That was, up until then, schools were separate from the government. They were not government orchestrated. From that point on, the military flag was then put in the school to represent the fact that the school was now a form of military installation, which is why they would do roundups or internments in schools as well as voting. So from that point on, it was okay to look at the school in a military capacity, which then made education a military organization or military objective, which then meant that at the same time then that if these black kids were ultimately going to be smarter one day, what we got to do is impede their progress now. So now education scores are used to tabulate the overall projection of a certain generation and then what potentially they can do to impede that. So alcohol was then allowed, you see what I'm saying, because now it's easier because we was making too much money off that illegally. So now they can use that as a means to get drunk teachers or whoever else in the school, which then can demoralize the overall system, which then forces a lot of kids to drop out, which then forces a lot of kids into the legal system, you see. So eventually, this became a machine for them to be able to use it. So from Prohibition, let's go to the crack era, when crack is allowed to take place for them to be able to orchestrate the ability to, again, impede the generational progress, because at that time, hip-hop was in the golden. So we could do anything. But then when crack came out, you could listen to the music, and it was faster. It was heavier. It was like Night of the Living Bassheads, Public Enemy, like, Welcome to the Terror Dome, Snap, that type of shit. So eventually, what wound up happening, though, was the opposite, because the generation that the crack babies came, and then when the crack babies grew up and had their own babies, the crack babies' babies started testing higher than the white kids in the border schools and everything else, because now the white kids were doing crack and drugs and totally just rejected school, which then created another imbalance. And now hip-hop is now making more white kids see a black culture as viable, and therefore then a black education as viable, which is why you can have a black homecoming queen for a white homecoming queen in a Georgian beauty pageant or whatever. You see what I'm saying? Or why Eminem can be accepted by black people, even though black people know that there's other people better than that. You see? Because he's good. Because at the end, we as black people want to just be educated. So to now look into the future based on what happened with the crack shit, I look at it the way they project the X-Men. Like the type of drugs and genetic hormone, adrenochrome, and pineal organ synthesis that they're making to become viable. Like they're campaigning to make dog meat and cat meat a viable meat source in your food supermarket now. And they're working with the FDC and the other thing to integrate this into curriculum. So remember how we used to have the food tree, where they used to have like the pyramid with the bread and the meat and it. Or remember how we used to look at they used to project the breakfast to us, a balanced breakfast, where we would look at the commercial. It would be like the cereal and then like orange juice, a full glass of orange juice, full glass of milk, fruit, and then like some bread or something. But like you can't drink milk and orange juice together. You know what I'm saying? So why are you showing me that as a balanced meal? You see? Food, all of this. So all of this now becomes the education value, but things like how to make money or grow food, you can't get that in school, you see? Because Monsanto and all of these people are paying Mayor Doomberg, specifically in New York, who abolished the educational chancellery in New York, which then set the trend for other states to do that in the rest of the country, which then put the educational system directly under control of the mayor. And if the mayor is militaristic, then the education is militaristic, which is why you had a decrease in crime, a decrease in student violence, but you had an increase of police and an increase of metal detectors in schools. So what's up with that?
Right.
So as a teacher, a real teacher, or educator, or facilitator of education.
Well,
when I was there, I would. Go ahead.
I'm not an educator. I'm not an educator by any means. I guess you can call me support staff. I'm kind of like a combination between a social worker and a guidance counselor.
Right.
But one thing I do when I go out there is this language that they're using a lot of times when they.
That's the form of education now in it. Because social worker system came out, because that came out of the Black Panther system, and the Black Panther system became the model of social education in America, social studies and things like that. social studies was the beginning of what became multicultural, or what is now multicultural studies, which then is the death of indigenous black culture. Because now you got to let everybody else read your culture and you adapt to what they say your culture is, as opposed to you living what you know it is. So specifically speaking, they've created a system in which they can't actively come out and say that this is what they're doing. So what they have to do is get people in play to instill that, and then those kids that rebel are deemed problems, which then get put under the pharmaceutical industry, which then allows them, the educational system, to put themselves down.
Rob? Hello?
You think King had a question too?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, did you say the King had?
I'm sorry. You broke up again?
I'm sorry. Did you say that your King had a question as well?
Yeah. He wanted to ask about tattoos. What exactly was it?
What does that mean? Because I know ancient cultures used to use tattoos to mark each other as like belonging to a tribe, something like that. And I just wanted to know like what's up with people in tattoos now. Is that like our ancestors coming back through us and sort of like marking us? Because I know it's like a lot of people have sort of like the same tattoos a lot, or like similar tattoos. So like what is that like? What's your interpretation on that?
You got to be careful, when you create one for yourself. You got to know that. To me, the best tattoos are the ones that when you see, you just automatically know what they are, but you also feel you know what they represent.
Yeah.
But when you match a whole bunch of them together, you let loose different imagery that vibrationally, symbolically clashes,
Yeah.
and it's brought to whoever wants to look like that. But if you notice after a while, you like always eventually because
looking up.
So there's different types of implants. There's etheric implants,
Yeah.
who you're allowing to emboss a psyche on you. So when you go to mad different people, you get mad different energy. You got to watch them needles, watch that ink, look at it, ask to see it, ask to, you may not to touch the needle, but ask to really look at it vibrate, look at how it is, and then envision and almost like a thin violet, protective layer right above the skin as it's going on you. So at least whatever it is, you are still giving yourself a visual protection. Like we underwrite the value of visualism or visualization. And it really plays a huge part in what we wind up achieving physically for ourselves. So the more we practice on doing it on things like that, for instance, the more we are allowing ourselves the possibility that reality works like that.
Right.
Which then gives reality the permission to work like that.
Okay. So it's sort of like
people with the same tattoos, when you see people with the same tattoos or the same positioning of tattoos, a lot of that is narcissistic infatuation, and a lot of it is also something similar in that soul matrix that is seeking to unite with that embodiment.
Right.
So, in other words, when people see you with something over your stomach like that, in some way you're associated with Tupac. You know what I'm saying? So Tupac had a cross on his back, nobody had a cross. Then the next thing you know, Mike Tyson Beckford get one. Then Ja Rule get one. But before Tupac, really, I mean, not saying people didn't have tattoos before Tupac, but if you think about it, until Tupac, niggas wasn't really rocking. Like, I remember my beat, but it wasn't like it was something you was thinking in the hood like that. Then after him, it was like clicking, you know?
Yeah.
And in that, right after that, New York allowed niggas to have tattoo parlors all of a sudden. Would that have happened if All Eyes on Me come out? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel you.
You know, are we living the dream, or is the dream living us?
Right. Right. Well, that's yeah, that pretty much answered my question. You know, I was thinking of something like that, but you cleared it up for me. Appreciate that. You have anything?
Yeah, just one last thing is there. I just picked up on language.
Hey, everybody, we back. Here we go. 240. Super Heru Radio.
Hey, how you doing, man? This is Darren.
Hey, what's up, brother?
Man, I'll finally get on. I've been listening to you for a while now.
I'm glad you did, man. Thanks for calling and supporting, brother.
Yeah. First I want to say I'm glad brother brought up about the tattoo. Like, I've been looking to get a tattoo, so that definitely cleared up some things. Right now I'm getting into the knowledge of self right now. I've been changing my diet and everything, and I'm looking to get into knowledge of self. Like, I'm from Charleston, South Carolina, so I'm really trying to get into the knowledge of indigenous people in that area. Do you know a lot of information on that, or some books you can kind of point me to?
Yeah. If you go online on Facebook, there's a group of good brothers and sisters called the Amassi Nation. It's up to them. And they are a very active and very culturally aware group of indigenous Moors, indigenous original people who are really knowledgeable in that. Also, you can research the Amassi people historically.
Okay. What's it called again?
The Amassi. Y-A M as in man, A-S-S-E-E.
Okay. I got you.
And you could also look into a nation called also look into a group of people that they refer to as the Melungeons. Melungeans.
Okay. Yeah. I'm glad you're giving me this information.
Say again?
Yep. No, what I was saying is I'm glad you're giving me this information, man, because I was at work the other day and this guy was bringing up stuff about Native Americans, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, whenever someone says Native American, I always feel like I am that, because, you know, a lot of my people, you know, they're from Charleston, and, you know, we definitely what we call them is Geechee. We definitely feel that, you know. So I feel like I've never I don't want to say I'm not from Africa, but I always feel like Charleston is my home, you know?
That's what I'm trying to say. Charleston,
yeah.
Charlotte, named after Charlotte Sophia, Queen Charlotte Sophia, the great, great, great Grand Dame, Grand Dowager Queen of everybody who call themselves nobility today.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
The only other person that's living that represents that is the Empress Berenice. But them white people had a big problem when they made that statue of her, and they made it like brown or bronze, because Masonically that's a code. Whoever they make a statue of, if that statue is bronze or black or green, right, then that means that even if the person looked European, the person that they actually did it from in life was black.
Okay.
So it was a code. So it was a code when they depicted her like that. And the people who had the problem with that was the Scottish Rite Masons, as well as the Daughters of the American Revolution, which are white Freemasonic societies that live off of the secrets they deprive us from.
Right, definitely.
You know, so you can look into her too. Because there's relations to her and Charles V, who was brought over here and who was brought to the Carolinas through Charleston, and was put back on the throne in England from the Moors over here.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be somehow ancestrally connected to that. You never know.
Yeah, especially with my last name, I do trace it to like to England and things like that. So I'm guessing those are connected. And then also I looked up, and it was connected to like the West Indies too. Because I mean, I used to have like I'm sorry, go ahead.
Because it's all the same people. You're talking about one big family that ruled everything, and when they broke up, their slaves moved in the house and act like they always lived there.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, because I used to have a heavy accent when I was a little kid, man, the Geechee Gullah accent, and you know, I moved up north and I kind of broke away from it, and I'm really trying to reconnect to it. So, yeah.
Well, it's in you, man.
All right. Well, thank you, brother.
Thanks for calling. Thank you.
Right.
Peace. (901) on Super Heru Radio.
Hello.
Peace.
Yeah, what's up, man?
What's up, G?
Yeah, I was calling. I had just called in. I wanted to know what you think about how they did Gaddafi. What you think about that?
Yeah, I was talking about that in the beginning of the show. It was a ritual. It's a sacrificial ritual they do around this time of year for the killing of the king, and they always do it within a period of what they call Jason. Jason is July, August, September, October, November. We in the 0 month of Jason, so symbolically this month represents 0 point to them, which is why they had to use which is why they had to kill him with a 0 president to make it okay. Obama, Gaddafi. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay, I get you. And I have one more question too, man.
Go ahead.
I was wondering, like, do you know anything about generational curses, like cursing on people's families or things like that? Because I was it's like I always have a lot of bad luck, you know what I'm saying? So I was trying to research, like, through my history and try to see, like, I have a couple of my family members, the women, they was Easter stars, my grandma was, like, a couple of my aunties. And, you know, I was just looking into all that, like, because I know all them secret societies, you know, they would do rituals and sacrifices. I was just wondering about that. Could you hear me out on that a little bit?
I'm hearing you.
Yeah, I'm asking like.
Yeah, well, see, the difference between Eastern Stars and regular witches is that Eastern Stars is regular witches is honest about being witches. Eastern Stars act like they Christians, or they act like they Muslims. They act like they Baptists, or they act like whatever, but on the low, they be doing little shit, but then they shield it with a Bible verse, whereas a witch will shield it with the image or the invocation of a goddess. The witch will use Jesus Christ or Mary or something like that, but it's basically doing the same thing. So a lot of the problems, see, back in the days in prehistory, when we would go to war, and when we would go to war, we wouldn't just go fight. Like if me and you had beef, we wouldn't just go fight each other. We would have the initial conflict and then ease up when the queens came. Then we would go and take the army to the side while the queens, besides that, we would take the armies back to wherever we went. Then the queens would get together and they would do an exchange of children, in which my son would go live with you for 18 years, your son would come live with me for 18 years. And during that process, we were both responsible for our children's safety, which then meant that there would be no war, which would also mean that if at the end of the 18 years, when they both left, if they decided that they wanted to still fight, they both would be equal, because your son would know how I fight, my son would know how you fight. You know what I'm saying? Then we fight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's called chevalier. That's something that is not practiced no more amongst us as men, because it's too much ego and bravado. Niggas talk about culture and talk about civility and talk about being more than noble, but they have no understanding of being an emissary of that. You see? So what happened is, what began to happen was when we began to fall as a people, our women would do things to protect us against those of us that we was fighting against. So inadvertently, we started putting roots and spells and shit on each other. And then after a while, that was then absorbed through the Freemasonic thing and then injected with a little Satanism. And then it became a negative. So voodoo and Palo and this type of stuff gets castigated, but Yoruba and Igbo gets put to the front. But what happened was these original people dishonored their own underworld. See what I'm saying? They started denying the dark energy. And so the dark energy started manifesting in the form of what these crackers was doing, especially when these crackers would use us as the sacrifice to get it done. Michael Jackson, Donny Hathaway, Sam Cooke, Medgar Evers, Emmett Till. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It goes on and on. So all of these are symbolic rituals or forms of generational curses that are put on us by us, as well as the enemy, as a means to keep us from achieving what we're supposed to do now. So one way to get rid of those is to start by doing a total cleaning of your house, literally, your physical house, your body, and those who you associate with. Look around.
Yeah, I have started doing. I had my intuition had started talking to me. I had started going within to try to understand it, and that's what I started out doing, cleaning up my house, examining my life. You know, who is now like that harming me or not. You know, or who made me good. Just if they don't, just get them out and just start over.
That's it. That's the first step. The next step is once you fortify and clean out your crib, you isolate a specific place in your crib that represents your place of power, that then, in a sense, represents your pineal gland. So when you symbolically go into it, you are symbolically going into your pineal gland. So the only thing that's in there is things that's relevant to that. So when you cross the threshold of that room, you literally cross the threshold in your consciousness to open yourself up to whatever goes on in that room.
Okay.
But you got to keep it clean, and you got to make sure you don't let nobody in there that don't mean you no good. So what you do is you get a brick, bust it up into a dust, and lay a line of it in front of your door or in the doorways of your crib.
And if they trip over, they don't make you no good.
Yeah. You could also get a bunch of chicken bones, tie them on a string, and hang them outside your door. That keeps a lot of shit away. Because most of it is psychological. Because you got to understand, the one thing that the white man fears of the black man is his ability to tap into that. So if they believe that you into some voodoo crazy shit, they really, really just scared of you. They scared of you anyway, but when they think that you on that, you literally can own them. You know what I'm saying? But black people who know how to do that. Black people that knew how to do that are the black people today we call the Ugandans. They're the ones who had the real science on. They was the ones who really devised ill ways to get rid of the white man. That's why he's so hard on them now.
I know, like in Haiti and different places.
Yeah, exactly. He really, really has to hold that down because that is connected to the piracy thing, and then the piracy thing goes all the way back to Spain and also ancient America with the Montezuma thing. They don't really want to get too deep into that. But for those people that do, you can check out Horace Butler's book, When Rocks Cry Out, as well as Queen Gloria L. Gay's work.
You say Rocks Cry Out?
Yeah, it's called When Rocks Cry Out.
Okay.
And as well as African Presence in Early America by Ivan Van Sertima, as well as Asiatic Kingdoms, Lost Asiatic Kingdoms of America, Barry Fell.
Okay. And see, what about, like, if you're not dreaming or you feel like you're not dreaming, is something wrong? I feel weird. I'm not sleeping. It's like I cannot sleep, and it's like I'm not dreaming or nothing. It's like I don't understand like this, and it's been going on for like 2 years now.
I feel you, man. It's a process. You know, sleep is one thing they'll tell you is sleep is different for everybody, man. It's not everybody is on the same base clock as everybody else. They want you to think that because that allows them to propel the reality of work and being somewhere on time. But sleep does not function on time. Sleep functions on the time in which you go to sleep. You dig? So that time that you go to sleep, regardless of where you at, you're not there. You're sleeping. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, specifically speaking, your genetic structure is structured on a basic system, yet that system is organized based on your perception of time. So as your perception of time alters, so does your sleep-wake cycle alter, because it's reflecting your obvious understanding that you are somehow not necessarily in the position that you're supposed to be in, which means you're out of time. See what I'm saying? But that also makes you time-lived. So sleep is a byproduct of physical reality. Therefore, the more you sleep, the more you are bringing energy from the outer world into the inner. So when you wake up into the physical dream, you are doing exactly what it is you empowered yourself to do. Yet
so
your
basically,
physical... Go ahead.
Yeah, like, so I'm kind of confused, though. Like, when you say, like, I'm not sleeping, so that's a bad thing, or is it a good thing, or what? But it's on where my body still function, like, I can still go do everything I have to do. I don't be tired or nothing, but it's just, like, it's kind of irritating that I don't have a good sleep like everybody considers they have a great sleep at night. I don't have great sleep.
Thing though, that's the trick though. Most of us is going through this right now. You know what I'm saying?
But
like, you know,
waiting on something to change is like at night you're just waiting for something to change every night. So
yeah,
I don't know.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's a thing that those of us in the species mind pattern are experiencing. Yet because we're experiencing it, we think we're isolated in it. And it's a universal phenomenon that we're all living through right now that we are not acknowledging openly. So what I'm also saying is that this is also based on the lie that we live in 24-hour days.
Yeah, I heard you say we live like 16-hour days.
Yeah, if that. I don't even know what it is now. It could be down to like 13 or 12 or 14 or down to 12.
Yeah, time moves fast, man. Time is moving fast, you know. But I'm just saying, that's mean like you raising your vibration too, because I be doing different things to try to raise my vibration up so I can speed up with the time. You know what I'm saying? So is that what that meaning too? Like I'm not sleeping like that because my mind is focused on trying to speed up my vibration too.
Yeah. That's exactly what's going on, bro. We're all going through it.
Okay.
You know, my wife talk about it all the time. This is what it is. It's those of us that are going through it know what it is. It's like certain people who are into different things know what certain things are. So if you say something, it automatically resonates to them. So certain movies are geared towards certain people, certain books are geared towards certain people because they all geared to that quote unquote crowd. So it's the same thing with sleep. They want and everything. They want you to think that everything functions on a certain way, and it does. Yet there's a certain chaos in the natural order of things. There's a certain chaos in the natural order of things that creates like an imbalance. That creates almost like an imbalance of perception that keeps us all thinking that it's just happening to us. But specifically, it's happening to all of us, yet we are all not unified within ourselves to notice it. You know, we'd rather, as a species, put our emphasis into icons and things that represent that instead of just being that representation. So you are going through the stage of acknowledging the representation, perceiving it, and being it at the same time. So sleep comes when it does. So it's bad and good. Like me personally, I really work not to put things in those contexts.
Yeah.
I try to look like you got to be balanced in it, however it's working for you. Find a sleep-wake cycle that works for you and work with that, as opposed to feeling like you're missing out or not getting the hours that are prescribed within that, because all of that is based on how they think melanin works. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. But usually I've been, like, lately I've just been trying to just go to sleep when I'm sleeping instead of just worrying about I need to sleep. I just sleep when I get sleepy. So that's what I've been trying to do.
Exactly. Because that's really all you can do at the moment. You know what I'm saying? And really that's enough.
Yeah, because it don't stop me from functioning. It's like sleep. If I'm sleep deprived, it don't stop me from functioning. I don't feel like so. It's okay though.
If it works for you, it works. So that's what I'm trying to say. A lot of times we get jammed up because we can't believe it's working for us, so we think something's wrong. So then we go to them, and then they tell us something wrong, and then we say, "Oh, great," and then that's when something gets wrong.
Yeah.
The whole thing is about unifying yourself enough to trust somebody else. So as we are all working on ourselves individually, until we deal with some of the heavy things that have happened to us, we won't trust each other enough to let they come up unless it becomes an all-out assault. And then even then, you're going to have, all types of people working against you in whatever capacity. So you got to be prepared for whatever. So you better start now. You better start now. And use your dreams actively. Like before as you drift off to sleep, tell yourself that you want to have a active lucid dream.
Okay.
And work to manipulate it.
In
ways that force you to wake up, so you're not just not just passive in it. You're more of a dictator of it, like in the boot.
Okay. I'm gonna try that. I appreciate this. Thanks for talking to me, man. I appreciate that.
No doubt, brother. Thank you for calling.
All right.
Peace. Yeah, man. So, essentially it kind of boils down to that. This was a ritual sacrifice to the killing of the king. They needed to make it Obama and Gaddafi to make it okay, literally, which is a go word for the overall assault now on nature itself, the ushering in of the attack on the primordial essence of creation, which has been ongoing, but now it's been taken up a notch. So they are aggressively pursuing their own destruction while we are in the auspicious ability to be able to actively vibrate out of it, however that may be for each one of us individually as well as all of us collectively. And what we promote at Super Heru Radio from the beginning has been to celebrate and exalt that while dealing with the levels in which, or the tiers, if you will, of how these things come into being. Because to try to tackle it all at once would be too daunting a task for anyone to fully achieve within a certain amount of time. So within the time that we have, we work to make it as exactly without going crazy. There's a movie you could get called In the Mouth of Madness that was adapted from a Stephen King book you should check out. It's very interesting. We peeped the movie The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, that series. That was very interesting. And dealing with the Nazis. Hate those Nazis. Really hate those Nazis. But regardless of who or what, they've created a situation in which now everything is now justified because regardless to whatever this person was, they created him and helped create him to be that. So this is them also giving an underlying signal through foreign policy to the other Arab powers that they are in a position to topple any one of their regimes. And this is the problem when what happens. But the problem is, see, Arab money is way iller than the other money that these people got. These Arabs, this next level with the Emirate money is like number one in the world. Like, people love it. So they have so much dough and all of that all they can do is just, influence things. And because they're Jews, they have to maintain the monarchy. Any monarchy is Hebrew-based. So that means all monarchs in some way are Jewish. But when I say Jewish, I don't mean Yehudas, meaning Khazarians. I mean Hebidus, Sephardics, Falashas, the black, those types, who ancestrally and historically, unfortunately, did teach the Khazarians and all the stuff they basically know. However, at the same time, if you had something that at one point was almost a Neanderthal and now was being able to juggle and stuff, you really want to teach it more to see how much you can do. And this specifically is why the relationship still exists between them in that type of thing. While they consistently use animal DNA and try to kill animals and stuff like that as a means to perpetuate or try to merge some type of human, beastal, Sagittarian, hybrid Frankenstein that they can unleash on the planet, a chupacabra or whatever the hell they work to create or get people to believe is real. So all we're saying is, in the end, none of that matters. In the very final result, you are your own singularity within your own pineal organ. Therefore, you have to find a way back into it to be able to be in it, as opposed to being in, let's say, the brain. Once you go within that aspect of it, the brain now is open to do all types of stuff. That is being in the so-called, using the other so-called 98%. And the way that we do it is by exposing and unlocking these aspects that have been set up for us to fall into without knowing. It takes work and diligence to be able to research the point to its conclusion and then act on that. Sometimes more so than just aggressively off the cuff, just impulsively acting on it based on no information, based upon the ego. It's a new time, so we gotta upgrade our cosmic Afro shit to be able to man up to the test. When I say man, I mean woman and man. So, anybody wants to check out some of the new material we put up on the website, we have a special now. If you order 2 DVDs, you get a price. And it's running for the rest of the month, as well as some of the new material we have on it as well. It's www.aseerthedukeoftears.com. Please check out www.superheroradio.com, as well as www.sagaasad.com. Peace to Alexis K. Tyler, www.alexiskttyler.com, as well as the Imagination. You can see them on Facebook, as well as all of the other greats we mentioned tonight. Peace to you, your families. May you be blessed and compensated for your work. Also, big up to those of us in our Red and Blue. Really going on that, and we'll have the flyer for the new class soon. So with that, we say peace and blessings, and inshallah we'll be able to be holding us down. And we should have the book out soon. Big ups to those of us who have been helping us and donating to this cause. We really appreciate it. We're really working up, and we're going in. So blessings to you, and inshallah we'll speak to you soon. Peace.